On écrit sur les murs la force de nos rêves, nos espoirs en forme de graffiti. On écrit sur les murs pour que l'amour se lève. Un beau jour sur le monde endormi. Un beau jour sur le monde endormi.
Hello, my amiable students. In this lesson, we'll be looking at topographic maps. The objectives of these lessons are: 1. You should be able to define what a topographic map is. 2. You should be able to identify the various sections in a topographic map. 3. You should be able to identify or state the functions or usefulness of a topographic map. First, let's define a map. A map is a graphic representation of an actual place on a paper. It shows classification, delineation, structure, and topographic elements or land elements or other elements in the actual place. From the word topography, which states the structure of the landform, we would tend to have what topographic map denotes. A topographic map is a two-dimensional structure of lines that shows how the elevation of the land is in the paper in relation to an actual three-dimensional form. But no matter the type of the map, it must be able to classify or categorize different sections or settlements into hierarchy. 2. It must be able to delineate or demarcate borders and boundaries in different settlements inside the map. 3. It must be able to yield itself to measurement and enumerations of certain factors. What does that mean? First, inside the map, you should be able to tell which settlement is bigger, smaller, important, or less important. We refer to that as classification. 2. You should be able to tell where this village stops and where the other one starts. That is delineation. Then, you should be able to calculate some certain variables using the map. For example, you should be able to tell the surface area covered by the map or the surface area of the actual place which the map represents. 2. You should be able to tell what is the length of one road to another or the area covered by the village. Then you should also be able to tell how high, how low the landform is, which makes it a topographic map. So when these three things can be done, then we say the map is actually useful. Maps are not only topographic in nature. We have other types of map like geodetic, thematic, reference, atlas, and others. What makes them to be different is what they tend to depict. How do they show the structure of the actual area they represent? Are they showing it in lines, colors, or in theme? For topographic map, it actually uses lines, symbols, and marks. Then, what are the sections of a map? A map must have a title, which is the name of the actual area it represents. 2. The features in the map, lines, symbols, and signs must be demarcated from the outside by the border. So that border tends to show the meridian and the parallel that pass through the map area. Meridian means what are the longitude passing through the area and what are the latitude that pass through the area. So with the map latitude and longitude passing through the area, we should be able to tell time as well as distance. A map must have a body. A body means the content or the actual surface that represent the place or the actual place that is being represented. So this surface will be covered by symbols, lines, themes, pictures, or some certain symbols that tell us what is in the actual place. Importantly, a map must have a scale. A scale is number or an actual dimension or length inside the map relative to the actual one in the place. For example, what will 2 centimeters, 1 centimeter inside the map represent if you go to the actual place? So it just helps us to know dimensions or relate with dimensions or dimensional impression of the actual place by scaling and measurement. Then a map must have a key or keys that tells us what lines, symbols, forms, themes, pictures, or other pictorial representations inside the map represent. For example, grasses must be demarcated from settlement. And what lines, marks, signs, and symbols represent houses, communication structures, telecommunication structures, as well as other forms that are physical from forms that are human. Lastly, we'll be looking at functions of a map. What are the functions of a map? First, maps help us to pinpoint or locate an actual place within the globe or within a specific community or a specific country. So any map can be used for this apart from hydrological map. A map must be useful for navigation. We can use a map to structurally decide how we get from one place to another. So relatively, map will tell us how quick we can get from one place to another in space relative to time. 3. Maps are very useful for academic illustrations. For example, teaching will not be important, or teaching will not be relevant, useful, or helpful without illustration. So when we teach geography and other related disciplines, we must be able to show the children or the students the place within the map or the symbols, other things that we are talking about inside the map. So without taking excursion to the place, which can be relatively expensive, they can be able to see it through pictures, atlas, maps, or topographic maps. 4. Maps are reference materials for many documents. Have maps that are reference documents in themselves, like atlas. The map must lend itself to measurement with the use of scale to help us to calculate the actual area covered by the map, distances within the map, as well as other variables that are mathematical. They must be good for finding directions, bearings, and other strategic locations, especially in time of battle or wars. So they are very handy for military strategic studies as well as planning. Next, map lend itself to visualization in the area of education or learning. So in geography and other areas, without map, learning will not be complete to help us to visualize that which has been learned. If you look at new games that are 3D games or new visual representative games, they tend to have structure of land covered by battles or covered by the things that are being used in the game. So in gaming, maps are also very handy. Maps are also very good in the area of strategic studies in football. When playing continental sports, you need to travel from one place to another. You need a reference map to be able to actualize your travel dreams. Even in workplaces that are very large, we need a map to be able to move from one part of the building to another. So with this, we come to the end of our lesson. I hope you understood everything that has been discussed as well as questions that have been raised in this lesson. So attempt the quizzes. Till our next lesson, I say au revoir.